And I'm going to close this one out and get moving. Get some people moving through here. Oh, I'm excited for today's topic. Where are we at here? Okay, there we are. Oops. Hello, everybody popping in. Beautiful. You guys can start to see us in different platforms. Going to open up the chat. I can see the chat on one of them for YouTube. I don't ever see anyone coming through on Twitch, so we might not have any Twitch viewers right now. Okay, and then we're going to share. You guys feel free to share where you think people will want to hear this stuff. Here we come. Hello, beautiful people popping in. I love it. We'll say good morning. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Rebecca. Lyndon, CJ. Beautiful people coming in. You guys, whew, guess whose birthday it is today? Collins. Happy birthday, my friend. I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing year.
Yeah, thank you. I'm 72 today.
72.
I've got a bit of feedback.
Do you? Okay. Let me see. When we do, we're having a little bit of a connection issue today, guys, so bear with us. Hello, Helen. So when you're getting lots of happy birthday wishes. When I stop talking, what I'll do is mute myself and see how that ends up creating less feedback on your side. Sometimes that happens. Everybody dancing, happy birthday. Rebecca, Lyndon, see everyone saying happy birthday, Helen. It's going to be a great day. What a fun day to have a show. All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's great to see everybody here.
I think it's going to be a great show because I'm going to ask a very important question that people just probably have never considered in their lives. And that is, who decided that love is optional?
So did you guys see? I see there's a little kickback here, but Colin's question, and I'd love to see what people put in the chat and how the conversation goes in the chat. But that's a really great question. Who decided love is optional? I did.
Yeah.
I
Exactly. Everybody on the planet thinks that love is optional. It's one of the major reasons we have the problems we have on this planet. If we want to change the world, we have to change that notion that love is optional. And I'll tell you why I said that. And people say it's not possible to have a world that is just of love. And I disagree with that because I actually experienced that on Sirius B, where the beings there are so loving and kind and very gracious towards each other, very respectful towards each other. Everyone's agreement, there's very little disagreement, if any, on the planet. And people work together harmoniously, they love together harmoniously. And it's such a harmonic, beautiful space that I thought, why don't we make planet Earth like that? And all it takes, in my view, is for people to change their mind about love being optional.
I think that I don't disagree with you on that. But here's my question to ponder, and that is, do we not come to this planet to understand and master polarity? Would that then take away the spiritual growth, or not? Right? I always understood
Yeah,
that Earth can't be a utopia. It can never be a world of just love. That if we don't, that we choose to come here because of the polarization, it's like a master class. But do you think that people can understand and create that spiritual growth without having to experience the the traumas that we've been through here?
yeah. I think that's the only way that I can see that you succeeding in creating a planet that is filled with goodwill and a planet that can succeed against all odds. And people just don't um, consider that question: who made love optional, and why is it optional? And I've given it a lot of thought. In fact, last week I mentioned it, and as I mentioned it, the penny dropped, and I thought, who made love optional? And I've been thinking about it this week, and quite a few other people on my Facebook page have been commenting on posts I've been making about, love being optional. And I think most people would agree that all it takes is a mindset change. And in 2006, when I volunteered to become a grid worker, I made my life that anything less than love is not acceptable to me, neither from me or to me. So I would not put up with anybody whose attitude towards me was anything than less than love. And in the beginning, it was very difficult because I had a lot of baggage from the past and habits and thought habits and emotional habits that I had to change. I would react to people in ways that were unloving. But once I became consciously aware that that was my reaction, I was able to change course and set a different course in my life and begin to change those habits in my life. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I've experienced nothing but love from other people. I don't get into arguments. I don't have arguments. I don't, even when other people around me are arguing, I can still love them and, not be affected by their behaviors. Because with love comes sovereignty. And if we're sovereign beings, we have to take charge of the territory that I am. And the I am is an expression of God. And one has to ask oneself, how does one express oneself as God? How does one express oneself as God to myself and God to others? And the only way to do it, in my view, is just to have a standard that you set for yourself, that anything less than love is not acceptable, neither to me or from me. And it's amazing how quickly you can change those bad habits you have. And I did it on my own. But if we could do it as a community, as a group,
Mhm.
we would experience far more happiness, security, constructive living, thought patterns. We'd have more gracious behavior between people, more generosity from people. And in my view, it is possible. All it takes is a mindset change.
I agree with you on that. The last person I ever wanted to send or give love to or think love of was my ex husband, my children's father. And I thought to myself, why am I thinking this way? I'm only hurting myself. And it's not that I shared these feelings openly out loud, but as we know, thoughts travel, thoughts are things. And so it was no, it would hurt everybody involved with me just having those thoughts alone. And so one day I woke up and I decided, I'm done with this crap. I'm only going to send loving thoughts. I'm going to be grateful, like for real in my heart for the time spent, for everything had, for the fact that I had to try to find a reason. At first, I needed a reason because love at the time wasn't a reason for me. So I found a reason through my children. I said, look at my beautiful children. How can that not be love? And
Yeah,
so that's where I started. I found a place because I didn't believe in love, but I chose it. I chose to search for it and then go, okay, there's that piece. And now, and I'm telling you what, it changed when my thought was able to, when I was able to snap into that place of love, my world changed. Everything changed. All of a sudden, I was even treated different and spoke to differently by my ex. And he had no idea what I was doing on my end. But I was like, I couldn't believe how powerful this was. I couldn't believe it.
yeah. Yeah, I believe in that saying that it only takes a spark to get a fire going. And just introducing this notion to people may get some people to start thinking, why do I accept anything less than love? Is that reasonable? And like you with your ex-husband, I'm sure that, once you break up in a marriage, there's a lot of ill will and ill feeling. And I know because I got divorced in 1990 and there were a lot of bad feelings. It was a bad breakup. It was a terrible breakup. But once I got into this habit of loving and kind and gentle with everyone and treating everyone with respect, including my ex-wife, I began to get that back from her. So when you send out the love, that's what you experience. So people say, do you need a reason to love? Well, if you want to experience love, you have to love. There's no other way. If you want to experience, you've got to be loved to us, you know, and be there for them and not judge them. And the only person you ever have to judge is yourself, your own words, actions, motives, and intentions. And if you treat other people with respect, and it's not just people, but animals as well, like my neighbor's dog, she's just come in now, she's keen to say hello. Uh, when I arrived there, this dog would not come near me, was very frightened. And just by loving her and giving her respect and, giving her the odd treat now and again, now she comes in all day. All the dogs do. And it's and it's amazing if you treat other people well and you love other people, that's what you get in return. So if you want to experience love, you have to be the one who initiates it,
Yes.
and gives the love. Yes. But it must be genuine love, and it's love is all encompassing. And the first thing where it starts is respect. If you can't respect yourself and you can't respect others, you will never experience love. If you're with a partner who doesn't respect you, then you get out of that relationship.
I
I'm
agree.
sorry, you will never experience love in a disrespectful relationship.
I agree with
And
you.
I've seen a lot of women with a lot of disrespect from their husbands, and I wonder why do they stay in that relationship? Often it's just the children's sake. And I know that sounds like a logical reason, but in my view, the children are then going to be caught in that turmoil and that divisiveness, and it's not going to do them any good. But even in a bad relationship, you can change that relationship by being loving and kind to the person you're with. It's not
Yes.
necessarily always about leaving the relationship, but being loving and kind. And I've seen women change their relationships because they changed their attitudes. That's why attitude is so important. On my website, I've got the attitudes of mastery, just for the listeners out there. And I really encourage you to go out and look at it. For instance, it got one attitude called unoffended. And the whole notion of offense is, if I take offense from people when I'm trying to defend something, and that's generally the attitude of people. They're defending their thoughts, their character. There's only one thing you have to defend, and that is love. Really. And if you are slow to take offense from other people, and because in a sense, what other people think is none of my business. What other people do is none of my business.
That's
So,
that's literally how I raised my children. They would be so upset. You know, one of my children in particular is super sensitive, and she would always be so upset about everything. And I know people who listen to me talk, I say this all the time. I always have told my children, what other people think is none of your business. Not about you, what they think about you, what they think about other things. It's none of your business, and
yeah.
just let it alone. Lyndon is bringing up a really good point. And this goes into the programming the programming or conditioning inserts, however you want to see this or however people say it, but that love becomes basically there's a whole false light movement, and I'll tell you what, this white light, this false light is so close when you're not trained and you don't take the time to understand the difference between the white light and the white light. Most people are stuck in this false white light, and there is in that false white light there are false ascended masters, there are false goddesses, false this, false that, and the other thing, but there's also a false love. And that love is a conditional love. And that's what Lyndon is bringing up. Like, you know, there's a conditional love that is so, it's a contraindication to love, but people feel like love is like, I don't deserve love. Or I do deserve love. And so they put all these conditions on it, but that is in this whole false matrix. So how does somebody determine that true light, that true light of love, um, versus the stagnation, the entropic closed loop system? How do they see that?
Well, they have to make that choice and say, love is not optional. I don't have the option of not loving somebody. I don't, it's not an option. And people thinking that it is an option, of course, leads them down the road of not being loving sometimes, and then having experiencing the unlovingness that comes back to them. And so it becomes a self-defeating cycle, and it just takes you down, 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 and you feel guilt, fear, low self-esteem, all the negative feelings. Because, in a sense, I was told just recently that we have to become ascended masters. In other words, before we ascend, we have to master ascension. We have to be ascension masters.
I
And
agree.
people always think of the ascended masters as being, someone else out there, some other ascended master. So they worship that ascended master. And I think that kind of mitigates our responsibility towards ourselves. Why shouldn't we become ascended masters? Is that notion too crazy to even contemplate? And people talk about ascended masters as if that they can perform miracles and all kinds of great things, and that's out of the scope of humanity. But I know from my experience and other times this continuum, when you are loving, kind, you get back your superpowers. And we all have superpowers, but they're not being activated. And the only way to activate your superpowers is through love. And as soon as you contradict that in any way, you mitigate your superpower and you switch it off. So if we really want to become, these superhumans that are can do amazing things, because many of us have got superpowers, and I was told many years ago that towards the end of the ascension period, many people are going to get back their superpowers.
Hmm.
And I think from now, this is the point in time in human history that we have to take responsibility for making that a reality. Because if not us, then who?
I
That's the
want a cape.
question.
I want a cape. That's all I have to say. I want a glittery cape for my superpowers. I'm just kidding. I love. We think of thinking of opening our hearts to love and making the choice and mitigating. It doesn't. It's not a mitigation. There's no need to be stuck when we ask the right questions. And I've always heard the same things too from my higher self is you are an ascended master. That's who we've walked. That's who we've walked with. That's who we are. That's what we become in a sense. And a lot of the ascended masters that are communicating with people are still stuck in polarity and still controlled by the fallen ones, fallen angelics. They don't understand. We as humans don't understand or take the time to understand that they're in the same position we are, just a little higher vibration, and so we're moving into that vibration, and they seem to be stuck in ego just as we have been. And so being able to in this space say I make the choice to choose love, to choose authentic love. And in my opinion, Colin, I think that is a Christic love, and not a religious piece, but like really truly, what is the Christ? What is the Christ or the Christ, however you want to say that, uh, and really feel what that is, the embodiment of what that is, because that in essence is love, because that is what we are as angelic human beings. And
Hmm.
the fact that you
Yeah,
say, I take no less than, I accept nothing less than love, that's a very fair statement. And everybody should be walking around today, from this day forward, saying, I accept nothing less from me. What do you say? Either say it. How do you say that, Colin?
neither from me or to me. So I expect nothing but love from other people. That's my expectation. And if they're not loving or kind or respectful, then I ask them to leave, or I leave. I just walk away because I just won't accept it. And it's because we're accepting of unloving and unkind behavior that we fall into this trap of unlovingness, which by its very notion is going to harm us. And loving oneself is the first point. And why should one love oneself? Because if you don't love yourself, you will never experience love. And what does that mean? Because if you love yourself, when you're with other people, you have something to give them. You can't give them what you don't have. And if you love yourself, you can give that to other people and show other people that they can love themselves too. And I have the sense that people just don't know what the power of love is. I didn't know what the power of love is until I'd been to Sirius B and experienced it in a community of Azurite beings, blue avians, and just saw how wonderfully coherent and cogent and the community was. and you, it's palpable. You can feel the love. You know, that's when I first arrived there and I saw these 10 to 12 feet tall beings. My heart was, beating fast. But I just thought, you know, just stay with us, Colin, stay with us. And then I just felt this rush of love coming over me, and it just calmed me down completely. And just looked at each other, you know, uh, and just looking at each other, I just felt this warm sense of love and respect and kindness from them, and that changed my life forever. That was a point in my life after that visit. I was convinced that that was the path to go, the way of the Asherites. And so I literally made a complete life change after that, where I left Cape Town and traveled up to Johannesburg via Durban. And then I started my keeping work in Johannesburg, because Johannesburg is a Q site. And so I had to live alone. I had to live away from technology. I had to live away from the electromagnetic fields if I could. And and I had very little contact with the internet or any other means. And life, that was such a big life change for me. As I told you before, I took on the vows of poverty, chastity, and I decided to live my life righteously, in a right way, and the way that I chose to live, and not the way that others expected me to live. And taking back my sovereignty and my own power, I was able to transcend my humanness. And being a angelic human is possible, you know. And in a sense, over the years, I've experienced many, many miracles in my life. In fact, today there was a miracle in my life. Not that that I saw a miracle in another person's life, a life-changing experience for them. And it's when you embrace love, you just get back your power. And people say, why should I embrace love like this? Is because if you don't, you'll never have your power back.
Exactly.
Love, power just flows from you. It's like a river.
Hmm. It is. It is
You
like a
can't,
river.
you can't, you can't sit in the bank and watch the river. You have to jump in
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
experience the river.
Um, I'm really fascinated, and I know lots of other people are too. So I'm going to ask this question for people. When you're able to communicate and experience your consciousness with the Azurites, with this aspect of yourself, uh, would you say that this would be in the Gaian timelines, like the seventh dimension, or is this beyond that? Do you have a sense of where that is or how that is? Um, Obviously, Sirius is off of Earth, but like, how would we perceive that? How do people perceive like the dimensional aspect of where these beings are?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Let me think about it.
Hmm.
Could you rephrase that so I
I
understand it
can.
better?
Yes, I can. Let's see. If Earth is third dimensional, and Tara, for instance, is an aspect of Earth with higher dimensional beings, fifth dimensional, and Gaia is seventh dimensional, would Siri like, and there are Azurite histories in the seventh dimension on the Gaian timelines. So would the Syrian beings be in that dimension or that timeline?
Yeah, yeah, they would be evolving from the seventh dimension.
Yeah.
So some would be 48 strand DNA beings, some would be 60 strand, some to 72 strand. And as they activate more DNA in their cell codes, they and those beings live very long lives. I mean, they actually are aware of the eternal nature. So the notion of dying to them is just, they don't know what that really is. They understand that humans live for a short period of time, they're born and then die, but they live forever. And if they want to go experience something else, they have a process which they call Bardoa. They drop the body and go somewhere else and form another body. Because our bodies are a manifestation of our souls. So if you go into another different dimensional space, you drop your body and you form a new body on the other side. When I was in dimensions 4, 5, and 6, I had what they call a semi-etheric body, a plasma body, and it's less dense than our physical bodies on Earth. But when you're in that dimension, you're not aware of your plasma body. You still feel physical because you have an appearance, you have a physical appearance, but you don't feel the density of the body like we do on Earth.
It's like not a car. There's no carbon in a crystalline body or a plasma body.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
I know, like, right. Go ahead. Sorry.
and when you're going from seventh to ninth dimension, you have an etheric body, and some of the beings there, well, many of them are transparent. They're almost, you can see through their bodies. Not all of them are like that, but some of them are like that. And they can change the shape of their body. They can shape shift, but they can change from less dense to more dense bodies as they choose. So they can appear to me as fairly dense matter, but then they can also have periods where they just kind of raise their frequencies and they almost become transparent. It's like looking through a water body. It's just like glass.
That's amazing. I love that. So we're moving from carbon to crystalline here in the now moment. Like, this is what, like, our bodies are actually physically changing. And so with this physical change, to me, the way I see that is the embodiment of at least the third strand of DNA for us physically. I don't know if that's right. That's just that's how I see it, or how my higher self shows me that is for our physical selves. So as
Yeah,
this is happening, would it not be easier to accept love in its absolute truth when we have more strands of DNA? Isn't this kind of like part of a piece of the puzzle? Is to, I mean, on Earth, we're not going to be walking around with 12 strands of DNA, but embodying as much of that, and we can in the etheric realms, of course, as we go up, but being able to activate that third strand within the physical body. Wouldn't we then be able to feel love almost instantaneously?
yeah, yeah. And to activate that third strand of DNA in our body, you can only do it through love. That's the only way, because that is the power. That is the central organizing and creative power in the universe. And to activate a third strand of DNA, you have to live by that mantra of anything less than love is not acceptable, neither from me or to me. And when you activate that more in your soul body, because remember, our soul bodies, we have a what is called a soul template. And our soul templates hold 12-strand DNA potential. So it's up to us to activate more DNA in our soul bodies. They're called soul codes. It's like information we give ourselves through experience. And the more loving experiences you experience, the stronger your soul codes will be. And the stronger your soul codes will make your DNA stronger. And first, what happens is you begin to accrete what they call phantom DNA. So it's not physically in your body yet. It doesn't physically appear, but it appears in your soul body. It activates. It's like a little light. And we don't know it, but our bodies are filled with something called biophotons. And biophotons are little light, like little bulbs in our body. And when you activate your a love in your body, you activate more biophotons, and biophotons give you more light. You start having a light body. And so, if one is careful about the development of one's own soul, and you can then begin to activate more biophotons in your body, and therefore that activates more DNA in your body. Remember, a lot of DNA is dormant in our bodies. It's just genetic DNA. The 10% of our bodies is genetic DNA. The other 90% is junk DNA. But we don't understand what the junk DNA is. And it's the junk DNA that is connected to our soul codes, that holds our soul history. And so as you begin to love more and you give more love and receive more love, you begin to activate more biophotons in your body. And therefore you start remembering your past lives. That's what happened to me. I started having flashbacks. I still do. As you know, just a few weeks ago, I had a flashback to a past life, and it was very, very traumatic in the sense that I was living that life. It was as if I was there in that moment and experiencing what it was like, and seeing the hunger and so on around me, and the depravity upset me. But I've chosen to go that path, to incorporate and to accumulate and really incorporate all my selves, my past lives. I want to integrate them into my body, into my memories, so I remember who I am. And that's a difficult process. Um, in the beginning, the first 3 years of waking up was the hardest for me because I had a lot of doubts about, the teachings I was getting. I had a lot of doubts about my own sanity. I thought I was going nuts. And in a sense, I was going nuts.
That's the
But then
worst. That's the worst feeling. As you feel like you're going crazy, you start to lose all your friends. Your family starts to go, "What the hell?" And you feel a little bit secluded. And yeah, it's a little bit scary to go back and see these things and remember these things. The way that I
yeah,
see the DNA strands is that each strand, uh, there are 12 strands of DNA, and David brings up the Sasquatch, and I know the Sasquatch are working on higher levels of DNA, so they have more DNA strands attached, which is why they're able to communicate the way that they do. But so thank you for bringing them up. They actually came into my mind last night, as a matter of fact. This is so, oh my gosh, I'm going to share this because I've been working on communicating because I'm surrounded by, in the Pacific Northwest, there are Sasquatch out here everywhere. And I've been connecting to their consciousness in a very slow fashion and manner. And they were showing me, my daughter is a little under the weather, and my youngest, and they were showing me the most interesting thing, that this new virus is similar to yellow fever. And so they were showing me how to heal yellow fever with plants and herbs. Now I don't remember what they showed me in the thing, but they were showing me how easy it is to treat what was happening. And I remember waking up in and out going, I need to write this down. I need to write this down. But I did remember yellow fever, and I thought, oh my gosh, okay, yellow fever is attached to like mosquitoes, and so it's like some kind of tropical thing. And I was just thinking about, like, how is this happening in our bodies? How are we creating a tropical environment then in the body? And so I started to kind of think along those lines. Anyway, sorry to get off on a tangent, but that just popped right back into my head. So maybe somebody needed to hear that. I don't know. But the history of the soul, yes, is in our code. So each DNA strand is, we have 12 tribes that came here to Earth. Um, and so each one of those strands is connected to a tribe. And so we're going to have memories of these times lived. And this is the piece that brings us back to love, is to know who and what we are, know who and what we are, and that we come literally from love. And this morning before we got on, Colin, I was thinking about our talk today and the indoctrination that we go through, and the fact that we aren't allowed to say certain words like God. It was forbidden to say that word because of the sound tones that it creates, because of the activation of the DNA that's going to happen when we understand we are God sovereign beings. And I thought, oh my gosh, those little son of a bitches, they just get us in every little corner, and we like obey like good little sheep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are many ways to activate the soul codes in your soul body. I define the soul as a field of energy, plasma energy around us. Um, at its electromagnetic energy, and so if we want to have more power in our battery, as it were, it's like a battery that runs our body. And if we want more in that battery, we have to support it. Like your battery needs recharging every now and again. Your battery needs topping up with distilled water, some batteries, but batteries have to be looked after. But people spend very little time actually caring for their soul bodies and doing the things for their soul bodies that will give them more power. And one of the things you can do to give you more power in your soul body is love. That's the most obvious one. Love is patient, it's kind, it's gentle, it's thoughtful, it's mindful, it's gracious, it's grateful. And if you start adding all those things into your life to make your life more meaningful, and it not only for yourself but for other people, because, for instance, if you become more graceful towards other people, grace is unmerited favor. So you're willing to forgive people, you're willing to allow people into your space more, and to be gracious towards them, and not be so possessive of your own space
Yes.
that you just won't allow other people into the space. But I don't have to have people around me all the time. But like yesterday was New Year, and I spent it with some folks, and we had something called a potjie, which is a South African dish. They have these cast iron metal pots, and you add all kinds of things into it, and with water, and it's like a stew, really. But you cook it for hours, and it gives everything such a flavor. And there's herbs and lemon and all kinds of things in there. And everybody has their own recipe. There's no two potjies that are the same.
That sounds delicious. Like you can put anything in it.
Yeah, it's just vegetables and a bit of meat. And yesterday was a chicken potjie, but it was absolutely delicious. But yeah, I spent time chatting to them, listening to their stories, loving them, uh, and supporting them, and giving advice where it was asked for, and just giving life advice, because I've lived a long life, and I've had a lot of experience, and so I'm willing to give the benefit of that experience to other people so they don't make the same mistakes that I made.
I love it. There are people still, and I know that I've been in this exact place, and I know many of us are still in this place of I'm giving and I'm giving and I love myself, and they start throwing a fit, kind of like I've been loving myself. I know who I am. I'm doing the work. Why am I getting nothing? Why am I getting shit? And I say, oh. we still have a little ways to go, I see. So
Yeah.
it love truly is, it truly is, this is when you'll know you're still stuck, when you're asking these questions and you're fighting yourself in this manner. It's like, you know, you still have work to do. There's still a ways to go. You love expects nothing. It expects nothing in return.
Yeah.
You could get punched in the face for loving. And what is it? It's like, that's okay, right? Because then you've extended the grace that you're talking about. You've extended grace to understand that somebody is hurting, that somebody is in pain, and you have been there too. And so being able to love in that moment is really important to do, I think, especially with what people are experiencing these days.
Yeah. And love comes through practice. It's like any skill that if you want to develop it, you have to practice it regularly. And when you find yourself being unloving, you have to correct it, you know. And there are ways you can correct it. If you've harmed somebody, go ask for forgiveness. If you've if they've suffered loss, then go replace what they've lost. You know, and just have a generous heart. You know, just don't wait for people to ask for things. If you can see they need something, just go get it for them. You know.
I agree. If the stew needs a different herb, bring the herb. bring, bring what you have. Um,
Yeah.
Alan is saying solid matter makes things and us people look more separate than we actually are. Trying to see inner connectedness of all life helps with love. I agree. When we can't see, when we can't see the hologram, we feel separated. We feel
Yeah.
separated.
Yeah. Amber Brook makes a good point. Love does require being punched in the face,
I was
but
just going to post that on the. Yep, it does.
but it's okay. You know, it's a test because there's no doubt my love was tested over the years. It's in many different ways. You know, I've got two older boys who don't speak to me and who haven't spoken to me for a couple of years now. Then suddenly, all of a sudden, today, I get a birthday message from one of them. I thought, wow, you know, and I haven't been at them. I haven't, you know, asked them, why do you do this? And you shouldn't. You should honor your father. You know, you should respect me. I don't beg for their love. If they can't give it freely, then I don't want it really, you know. And but then your love gets tested, and then suddenly, out of the blue, you'll get a message from one of them, a
Yeah.
very loving and kind message. You know, and it's like you say, love doesn't require anything from anybody because love in itself is self-sustaining. You know, and it's up to us to sustain that love. And once you get into the habit of being love, and I'm not saying loving other people necessarily, but just to feel love inside, to feel that I am love, you know, and I am love to myself first, and then that just spills over to other people, you know. And it's not that I have to force it or try it or anything. It's just that I've practiced it so long that it comes naturally now to me. You know, it's like any it's learning cycle. You go from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. You go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. And then you go from there, competence, you go to unconscious competence. So you become unconsciously competent through that process of learning. And, and so we have to go through that process, you know, in order to be unconsciously competent at anything we want to do. It's like riding a bicycle.
Mhm.
You know, you consciously incompetent, and then you learn to be consciously competent, and then afterwards it's unconscious competence. You don't even think about it. You just get on your bike and ride. You don't. It's like I'm not driving a motor car. It's the same thing. You know, and the point is I'm making is there's a process one has to go through, and it's that learning process of being consciously incompetent and say, hey, I've got to change this in my life, and then you go to conscious competence, and then eventually to unconscious competence. So it's a cycle.
It's reminding me of the movie Good Will Hunting, when Robin Williams is telling Matt Damon, "It's not your fault, Will. It's not your fault, Will," and until he finally breaks down. And when I think about how we reach, how we attain love is to break down the walls around the heart. Instead of using the mind, instead of loving with the mind, we need to love with our heart, because that's where the soul resides. That's the seat of the soul. And we
Yeah,
create this wall around us, and we don't connect into our crystal heart. We don't connect into that crystal deep in our heart and allow the chambers to fully open. And
yeah,
it's like it's time for that. It's time for
yeah,
that. And this year is going to be the time for that, because we're building heart-centered everything. Heart-centered businesses, heart-centered friendships, heart-centered love relationships, heart-centered everything. It's changing this year because it has to. So
yeah,
we just need to break down the chains. Take the chains off first, and then break down the walls. And Dan is saying something really beautiful. It's amazing what happens when we start with this little key, I love you. This property, when attained, changes everything. When you learn that you can love everything and everybody, then you won't find time enough to see something wrong.
yeah,
Thank you, Dan.
yeah. Yeah, you see, if you're loving with the mind will say you need a reason to love because it's looking for the logic. If you're loving with the heart, it doesn't need a reason to love, it just is love. So if you're heart centered and you realize that love comes from the heart, not from the mind, love is an emotion and it comes from the heart. And the heart doesn't need reason. In fact, the heart emotions are illogical in a sense. You can't logic through emotions. Logic is of the mind. They have different purposes in our soul bodies. So it's taking get rid of all those mind reasoning why you shouldn't love. And there'll be lots of reasons. Your mind will give you lots of reasons why you shouldn't love. But love is not from the mind. Love is from the heart, and it doesn't need a reason to love. It just is.
And Alan is saying, how does, and I think you just answered his question, but I just want to make sure, because this is a great question. How does equal value exchange fit in with unconditional love?
Well, unconditional love embraces love fully, and one of the qualities of love is grace, and grace is unmerited favor, unconditional favor. And when you love, you can't say, "I just want this little aspect of love." You got to look at love in all its aspect because, as I said last week, love is the central core energy that creates everything in the universe, and it is the most powerful energy in the universe, and it creates harmonies, subharmonics of itself. But having said it creates subharmonics of itself, but it's still love. It's an expression of love, as it were. And patience and kindness and grace, they're all just aspects of that one central thing called love. And so we have to practice all those aspects of love. You can't just practice one and not. You can't say, look, I love you, but I don't respect you. Or I love you, but I don't forgive you. That is conditional. And really, it's so easy once you take back your sovereignty and realize the only person you have to really judge in your life is yourself. What other people do is their business. They're sovereign beings. They can do whatever they like or do whatever they wish. It's none of my business what other people do. My business is me. I'm the one who's got to make self-evaluate and see how am I doing. And I often do this. How am I doing, Carl? How are you doing? What are you doing? Uh, how are you expressing yourself? What is there something that you should be doing that you're not doing? And then often doing that, I realize, hang on, I know this person's in need and they told me they needed this, but I didn't think about it. But now I remember. And then I'll go see if I can help them, in some way to cater to that need. And yeah, it's love is the hardest thing to do. It's not easy.
No,
Sex is
I
easy.
think the
Love is
sex
not
is
easy.
easy, but love is definitely the hardest thing that I have learned in my journey. Uh, I've looked for it and looked for it and been confused by it. This comes from uh, uh, at a young age, being damaged at a young age, and we come through, connected to disorder and disassociations, and we take on past traumas, not just that what we had, but also genetically, uh,
Yeah.
and um, and thinking, and it's when you think about it, it feels like it's so much work, but once you really get it, it's not that much work. So thinking about how to connect into your DNA strands, uh, going back to, let's not worry about going back to all those places right now. Let's worry about, how do I heal what yesterday looked like, right? And
Mm.
then go back to, okay, what did I do? Start thinking, start going backwards in attainable measures in your own life. Back to, like, oh, okay, well, I remember this time or this feeling that I have, that I could have been better for my children. I could have done this, that, or the other thing. And then I have to go into that feeling and that sensation, and allow grace in order to allow forgiveness. And then I'm able to let the love into that situation. And that actually changes my timeline. And
Mm.
when we go back, and then we can continue to go back and back and back, and remember and heal, and just bring in little pieces. Just do little tiny bite size, just do little tiny bites at a time. um, and you'll realize, you'll hit a point. You don't even have to get into your DNA strands. You get into the point in your own timeline, this current one, where all of a sudden your heart blossoms, and you can't not feel love, and you can't not express from this space. It doesn't happen. And if you get angry, you have a moment, something happens, it is really easy to come back and self correct. Because we are human, we're not going to walk around with rainbows shooting out our ass, let's be honest, right? But it's going to be easy to self correct.
Yeah. 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 If the error comes towards you, just get out of the way.
Exactly. Then you can just understand the Matrix. Have you seen that meme where Neo is like doing the Matrix with all of the vaccine needles coming his way? I think reminds me of that.
Yeah. 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 It's been a great show. Thank you,
Yes.
Chap.
Thank you.
And I want to encourage people to go explore that notion of love, and to explore the many aspects of love, and to try to incorporate as many aspects of love into their lives as possible.
Mhm.
Because I've got a course on timelines and how to master the hologram. And to do that, you have to take back control of your thoughts and emotions. And emotions, love is the most important emotion, but it has many aspects to it, you know. Um, so incorporating all of that puts you on a different timeline, because I've experienced what you give to other people, you get back. It's not what you want from other people; it's what you're giving to people that's important, because you always get it back in some way, or some form or another. So
Beautiful.
giving respect to others, you'll get back respect. If you give love to others, you'll get back love. So what do you want to experience in life? You've got to ask yourself, what do I want to experience? If I want to experience love, then I've got to learn to love.
Mhm.
It's so simple as that.
Yep, I agree with you. That's beautiful. Very, very, very plainly put and very powerful. Love is very powerful. Well, I hope you
Yeah,
had an amazing birthday chat today. I sure did. It feels like my birthday. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm just, it's time to start sharing that. And we've really taken the time, so especially our listeners, Colin, they've taken the time to initiate themselves into spirituality, to be in a space of embodying love and opening their hearts. And so it's just been it's been a hell of a ride to come this far. I can tell you what, but we've made it this far. And I just posted in my Starseed classes group. We didn't come this far to come this far, right? So it's like, so here we
yeah.
are, and yeah, we're
This year's going to be stupendous because I have a feeling, and I've kind of read, the timeline that we're
Mhm.
on, and I can see towards February, March, things will start happening,
Yep,
and then towards and between then and the midterms, you're going to see a lot of things changing.
yep.
And by mid in November, you're going to see some major changes.
It's going to be
Yeah,
incredible. When I was a teenager, gosh, we could just talk forever. When I was a teenager, I saw that our government will turn to more of like a round table. It's everything's just going to be, and it's going to take time, I know, but it's going to start to change, and I'm really excited about that. So
yeah. And med beds are happening.
yes,
I've seen on YouTube testimonies of people who've had the treatment of med beds and they were severely ill and they're getting healed. It's
yep,
amazing. Yeah,
yep. Yep, it's going to be about frequency, not about putting a chip in your blood and reading your blood. So let's be really mindful about that. We have the power within, and when we add frequency to it, which is organic, surrounding us, it's organically surrounding us, and we learn how to tap into that. There's going to be a lot of changes happening. So
yeah, yeah,
I can't wait. I love you,
yeah.
Colin.
Love you too, my darling.
Happy birthday, and happy birthday also to Amber. It's Amber's birthday as well, and she popped on for a birthday listen. So, uh,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
it's also Robert McNoyce's birthday today.
Oh,
She's,
it
I don't, yeah,
happy birth Robin's birthday as well. You said
yeah, Robin Noyes,
happy birthday.
Noyes, yeah.
Beautiful. Lots of birthdays today, welcoming into the new year. So, yeah, we have, you guys can find Colin, the writings of colinjoe.com. I have a Building Your Wings class, and I do offer scholarships. So, you guys, please inbox me if you are feeling called to this is something you want. Please reach out, and we'll make something work for you, because the work that we're doing, just because we see dollar signs doesn't mean anything. It just it doesn't mean anything. So definitely reach out, and we'll make something happen. And that's going to start January 22nd. 1/22/22, and it's going to go for 4 weeks and end on 2/12/22. I liked the numbers. So,
Yeah, yeah,
oh my
that's great.
goodness. And we'll see you guys next Sunday. Make sure to go to YouTube, because when you go to YouTube and you do, I think if you like hit the little dinger bell, then you'll get notified that we're going live. So, all
Yeah.
right.
And next Sunday, I was thinking of speaking about stargates, Q sites, wormholes, portals, that sort of thing, grid lines, ley
Great.
lines. So,
That's exciting.
people have been asking me a lot of questions about that, and for me to write it up is going to take a long time. They're
Yeah.
in my courses, but I'd like to do a show on them as well.
Sounds good. And you guys can get started on the course to catch up with some of the terminology in the writings of colinjoe.com. And you can find him on Patreon as well, where his courses are available there also. So, all right. Much love to you guys.
Yeah, the next Sunday, by the way, I'm going to start live classes. It'll be just before my meeting with you.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. And that's, if people want to attend, just go to my Patreon page. And, it costs $3, I mean, to join Patreon, and you can attend the classes. And
What
in the
time is that
classes,
going to? What time is that going to be at?
beg your pardon.
What time will that be at?
It's 5 p.m. my time, South African time. So that would be 7 o'clock PST. Yeah, because this shows at 9 a.m. PST. So it's 2 hours before. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. That was an awkward silence. That I was waiting for I was waiting for something else. So awesome. I want to pop on one of those classes if I can get up that early. So
Yeah, it's early for you, but I'm recording them, and the recordings will be available as well.
beautiful. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Much love to you.
Yeah. Bye bye.